On this week's episode, it's bad times for the box office. The androids are leaving Westworld, and movies we're looking to dust off our shelves. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break Podcast, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. Thank you so much for listening to all of our great programs. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own killer android from Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. His awesome podcast, Topicocalypse, and of course his book, which everybody, again, out there, you should be getting because you have plenty of time on your hands, hopefully. And that is Congratulations, You Suck. And it's available today wherever you get your books. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Hope you're well, my friend, and I hope everyone out there is too as well.
Yeah, man, it's good to I'm alive and kicking. You know, I got some allergies going on, but other than that, I'm here, man. Praise the Lord.
Right. Well, exactly. So you told me, though, that every time, because you've got allergies going on, and it is allergy season, and that's something at this point in time is very important to stress to people out there because, you know, you're sneezing and you're coughing. And, you know, if you're out there, what did you say happened?
I always get stared at by people. Like I got the coronas, you know, and it's like I saw a meme yesterday that said I used to cough to hide my farts, but now I fart to hide my coughs.
Something
story,
like that.
True
Something
story,
like that. Yeah. Where is your computer, man? Are you still on? Is that still on hiatus?
Yeah, no, look, it's back. It's booting. See the little load bars going. So it said it's had about 30 minutes remaining for the past 3 hours. So I don't know. Hopefully it starts working here.
Hopefully one day it will. I could go into a Windows iMac commercial right now, but I won't. I'll deviate from that because you know what? I know a lot of people are talking about you know, all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. So computer problems aside, we're just glad to have you here. But it is going to be a great episode. We're going to be talking about a lot of great subjects out there. Yes, we are going to touch briefly on the coronavirus and its impact now on pop culture because there's a lot of stuff to talk about there real quickly. But we're also going to be talking and deviating from that about things you can do during this time where people are self-isolating, where people are talking about staying in their homes and finding things to do. We're going to talk about the residual effects of that and some of the things that we can offer as ideas out there that you may be interested in. We'll talk about that coming up, including 5 movies that we are dusting that, right, you know, blowing that dust off right now, off the shelves and mentioning something, you know, these are movies that are really near and dear to us, but for whatever reason, we've just put them in the shelf and had not any chance to see them for a long, long time. But now that we may have the opportunity, we're going to talk about those movies. We're going to talk about the success of MLB's The Show as MLB The Show 20. MLB The Show 20 comes out to shelves and digital and things of that nature. And we're going to talk about the success of that game real quickly. Westworld, speaking of killer androids, Westworld hit season 3 as we're talking right now on HBO. It's going to be this week replayed on HBO, and a lot of people are going to be catching up on that this week. So it is season 3 of Westworld. We're going to talk about the season so far. Has the series been a success? Where does the series need to go from here to really grab in viewers? We're not expecting Game of Thrones numbers, mind you, but what does the series need to do to keep garnering more and more viewers long term? Plus also, how are video games important in our society right now, especially because we're being quarantined, we're being self-isolated, we're staying indoors a lot. The impact of video games on our society at this point in time, especially now, we're going to be talking about that as well. But first, my friend, it is the box office. And it's ironic, my friend, because the numbers, they're bad, especially here domestically and, including worldwide. I mean, with so many theaters being, so many countries being closed down as far as theaters are concerned, the numbers are pretty putrid out there. They've been talking about how this weekend at the box office, which was led by Onward, was so bad this weekend, especially domestically. It's the worst domestic weekend in movies since 20, 25 years ago. In fact, 1995 gets mentioned, and the movie Outbreak, which I worked on, which is ironic, my friend, that Outbreak was the last time a box office top 10 was so bad and a weekend was so bad overall domestically at the box office. Where's the irony in Outbreak being the last time this happened?
I don't know. There's a lot of, I know right now Outbreak's like the #1 movie to watch on Amazon Prime, or Contagion is.
Contagion is. Outbreak is a little bit behind it. I worked on it, and I can tell you right now, it's not a movie. It's not a movie you really want to see. It's not good. It's cheesiness. It's cheesy.
Yeah. I feel like we're finding a lot of coincidences in this coronavirus outbreak, but yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I wasn't expecting people to go to the movie theaters. They're too busy stocking up on water and food, and then with the announcements that the bars are closing and restaurants and things like that. So I imagine they're all out buying booze and trying to make sure they can live comfortably for the next couple of weeks. So
when theaters also had to consider closing down parts of their, the theaters that are inside, as far as when you go into the theater, you get your ticket, you go into the actual theater that you're located at where your movie's playing. They also had to condense those seats as well, correct? It wouldn't be full capacity.
Yeah. So restaurants are halving capacity. I've been keeping up to date with some of like the restaurants and breweries and stuff in this area, and they're saying, there's one brewery who's like, they're not opening their doors to let people go in, but if you want to drive up and buy like a 6-pack of their beer, you can drive up, pay for it. They're not taking cash. They're only going to do card. They don't want to touch money. Big popular barbecue place down in Seal Beach tonight was their last night open, so they're they got a lot of there's some people are complying, some people aren't. Basically, what Newsom said was he is calling for the closure, and then he was basically making a threat to to anyone who didn't close. He's basically making a threat to try to get the federal government involved and stuff like that. So a lot of people are just closing because they don't want to deal with it. Other people are kind of just giving their finger to them and staying open, but they're staying open in a smaller capacity. So everyone's taking it differently.
Everyone is taking it differently, not only as a country, not only as a state, not only as the cities that are close by you, state, whatnot, but also as a country as well. Each state is handling it differently, but it is getting a lot more serious than it was this time last week when we were talking. And I think it's going to get even more serious before it gets better for us here as a society. I mean, we hear of the countries that are on full lockdown at this point in time, all over Europe, Asia, and whatnot. So it has become a big concern, the coronavirus. Needless to say, it's all out there. We know everybody's keeping up to date on what's going on when they're watching their local news or what have you. They're getting the reports in there, and there's going to be a lot of people that are adversely affected by it. But we just wanted to say here at Pop Culture Cosmos, as long as we can, we're going to continue with shows. We're going to continue with great pop culture topics. We're going to continue to try to talk great things about pop culture to keep you entertained for at least 2 hours of your week right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Plus, if you get a chance as well, we're staying on the air with the Lakers Fast Break at least once per week as well. My friend, though, during this time, people's attitudes towards indoors obviously has to go ahead and become a priority about doing things more together as families, or doing things by yourself, self-isolating, and whether or not you have or have not the coronavirus, you're doing a lot of things at the home. And one of those things a lot of people are doing are a lot more. One of those things that people are doing a lot more are video games. In fact, Steam has reported their first 20 million concurrent user day in history, which is just mind-boggling for them. And we've talked about before all the other things that people do during video games during these times of needs, but I didn't think Ring Fit Adventure would be one of them. It was just something that, it came out, had its time in the sun. There were some people that were very interested on it, got decent reviews, very good indoor activity, but it kind of moved on. People kind of moved on from it and whatnot. But sure enough, something like this, pandemic hits, and you know what? Dust off that Ring Fit Adventure, or go go find it wherever you can, because Nintendo is reporting sale outages all over the place on Ring Fit Adventure. It is very hard to come by, and it's being, there are rumors of it being price gouged at this point in time. So I want to hear you, my friend. So I want to hear from you, my friend, on this amazing part, of our society right now going on with the pandemic, on all that, and self-isolating. How important are video games at this point in time to us as a culture, and anybody that's even from old to young? How important can video games be to us at this point in time?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of people who are. This is something, you see all the memes going around, right? Where there's gamers sitting in front of their computers going, lockdown. I was born for this, things like that. But yeah, no, this is a very important time, because a lot of people are going to be home. They're going to need something to do. They're going to be playing video games. We'll see a lot of people, playing Fortnite or Sea of Thieves or whatever your jam is. But I would also hope, there's a lot of fear going around that like Final Fantasy won't be released, Cyberpunk won't come out, yada yada, all these other games. But this is the time right now to release things like that, because people are at home and playing, and it would be kind of a good gesture, and also it'd be smart, because you'd have a lot of people who would buy this. They're sitting, they have the time to play it, they're not working. What else are they going to do with their time except play this game? So right now would be a really great time to release a game, and it would be bad to kind of delay it. But yeah, I mean, if you're, I'm curious, like, what the rise in people playing Microsoft and Sony, playing Xbox and PlayStation, Nintendo. I'm curious to see, like, if there's a boost in digital sales, or what those numbers are going to look like by the end of next week. Are people playing video games? Are they watching movies? Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Oh, I can tell you without a doubt, man, that if Steam is going up that high with so many concurrent users, if Ring Fit Adventure is to the point where you cannot find it anywhere on store shelves at this point in time, if Pokemon Go has completely centered around the fact now that you don't have to leave the house and still you can go ahead and score and play the game effectively, it tells me that anything relating to video games right now is doing hot and doing well. And you're right. I mean, we even see in as far as the video world, we saw in streaming markets. I mean, Disney Plus, they were smart enough to go ahead and release Frozen 2 to Disney Plus 3 months early. Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, that just got released early to digital formats. So people are, they're, I mean, for Disney, obviously, this is going to be still a drop in the water from what they're losing now with all the money that they're going to be losing here in the not too distant future. But still, these are efforts by these companies to say, hey, you know what? We're going to try and take advantage of whatever marketplace we have. And since everybody's home, let's try to drive a lot more to the digital formats for both gaming, streaming, and anything else we can get our hands on to go ahead and try and push it out into the marketplace and get it out there, because people are home right now. They want to do something, and entertainment is still the driving force in their lives. Some form of pop culture. They're going to be doing it, and they're going to be doing it really in a great amount, at least for the next 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I'm curious to see, like, will there be sales? What are people going to be playing? I feel like this is kind of a good time to catch up on, your back catalog of games and all the stuff you wish you had time to play but didn't. You're talking about Ring Fit Adventure, right? Like, would be a perfect time to buy active games. I'm sorry, man, I'm having a total brain fart right now. The Xbox motion game.
Oh, you're talking about the Kinect?
The Kinect, yeah, like if the Kinect were still around, like that might be. It would probably do well these over these couple of weeks, though. You know, like
Look at me! Look at me! Look at
yeah,
me!
you're up
Connect
there moving. But
Adventures.
I mean, like even look, they have that game where you can walk around Disneyland, right?
I'm dancing like Han Solo in Connect
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Wars.
Yeah, I mean, they have that game where you can walk around Disneyland. Like all of this stuff would be all this motion gaming. Like it would be worth owning just for the fact that you get to move and kind of feel like you're outside but not be outside. I don't
You
know.
know somebody's going to stream that. You know somebody's going to stream that.
Oh, the Disneyland game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they do. I mean, just to kind of make a joke of it, I guess.
Because Disney World and Disneyland both shut down this past weekend. So yes, that's definitely going to be something. Just right out of the box that someone's going to put on Twitch, and it's going to get a lot of followers and viewers. I can guarantee you already on that. Maybe we should be one of us. Retro City Games, where are you? But anyways, I want to ask you this: Call of Duty Warzone is one of these games that's hot, that's newer. It is the free-to-play battle royale Fortnite wannabe game that's gotten a lot of attention, very good ratings, and a lot of people are interested. In fact, in its first few days, it garnered over 15 million players. So when I ask you, is Call of Duty Warzone going to be something that's going to fill a lot of, going to fill that sweet spot for a lot of people itching for something new in the Fortnite, Apex Legends, Battle Royale genre?
I'm sorry. Wait, what was the question?
You and your allergies. And is Call of Duty Warzone going to fill that niche for people looking for something new in the battle royale genre?
I don't know, man. Like I feel like the people who like Call of Duty, they like the the tightness, the intimacy of the community, right? They like smaller games. I don't know how quickly everyone's going to be rushing out to play this battle royale. It's a fun idea and it sounds cool, but like I don't think that it's going to be what if it, they're taking a big risk, because what if the people who like Call of Duty all sign on to play this game and they play a few rounds, go, oh, it's not for me, and they go back to the old one. So I'm glad that they're offering it for free because that seems like a much better idea than charging $60 for it. But there's so many games like this out, and Call of Duty is kind of last to the race. So I'm curious to see how it does, but I honestly don't see it knocking any numbers off like Fortnite or Apex Legends, just because people still really love those games.
Well, games as a whole right now, video games are really video games as a whole are really something that a lot of people are connecting with at this point in time. Sure, board gaming, streaming, there's a lot of things people do. Reading books, like Congratulations, You Suck. A lot of those things are being utilized once again in our society. And it's strange that it takes a pandemic to go and in a lot of ways appreciate some of the stuff that we have that we take for granted in our lives. I know this time, was it last year, whatnot, we were talking about how video games were being vilified, were just being destroyed by members of the government and other members of PTAs and things of that nature for the way they supposedly influenced our society in adverse ways. And now all of a sudden it's come around full circle. And unfortunately, due to this terrible pandemic that we're currently going through at this point in time, look at where video games are at this point in time. A lot of people talked about going to Classic, pulling out their old Nintendos, pulling out their old PlayStations, pulling out their old Xboxes and playing games from the past and appreciating them once again. So it tells me to believe that video games can become an important part of getting through this terrible saga of human history that we're going through right now. And it's up to you out there to find things that you like. I know people are searching. I know people are trying new things. I know people are looking back to the past to things that they enjoyed. And video games, from the numbers that we're talking about right now, certainly seem to be among them. What are your thoughts out there on video games becoming an important part of people getting through this dark time of ours? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, speaking of video games, my friend, a video game came out this week that has gone under the radar pretty much every year that comes out, but it sells decently, always gets good ratings, and it's something that is, I guess, it's not something that PlayStation really pushes hard, but it's something that I think that maybe they should look towards to as far as the future, especially with the PlayStation 5 still coming around the corner, that they may look to pushing more as the years and years go by. And that is the MLB The Show series. This is something that I wanted to ask you real quick. I know you're not a big baseball fan per se, but I know you've had a chance to play sports games every now and then. And MLB The Show is something that it continually goes under the radar. PlayStation itself doesn't even promote it very well. But you know what? It's there, it does well, and it comes back around every year with something new that it adds to the plate. You get it? Like home plate.
No, that's good. That's good. That's funny. Yeah, no, so I have friends who own PlayStations just for that game. They're sports fans. They love baseball. That's usually, for some people, that's the only game they play all year. And it is a very popular franchise. PlayStation might not promote it at all, but that doesn't mean people aren't watching it, or playing it. So yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of FIFA. It gets put out there, it buys a lot. But do you think that if it were something that could be played on other consoles, that it would kind of do better?
I think so, but the fact is, it is one of the few licensed baseball games that have been continually released. I think they don't. I think they're the only ones that have the full license. I know other smaller or arcadey type games have been, brought out. I know EA used to have the Triple Play series and whatnot, but I think the MLB has gone exclusively with the show for quite some time. So I think that's part of the reason why it's just stayed in its little corner with the PlayStation owners. But the PlayStation itself, Sony itself, when they're promoting their system, when they're promoting their games, rarely talks about the show. And that's something, because you see the advertisements for The Last of Us, you see the advertisements for Uncharted, God of War, even Death Stranding. Think of Death Stranding and how much pub it got when it came out last year, and that's that's a PlayStation exclusive. So the reason I'm saying is, what could MLB The Show do to advance the PlayStation even more? You talked about how you have friends that actually have the PlayStation specifically for the MLB The Show. They are the exception to the rule, in my opinion, because the numbers of sales are steady, but they're never outstanding. And part of the reason is, like you said, it's not on every console, but also the reason I think is that the PlayStation itself is not something that has been a great platform to promoting it on a general or commercial basis to a wide extent. And MLB itself hasn't promoted it well, I think, as at the same time. So I'm give them a double blame with Sony and MLB not really giving it a big push, I think, compared to what the NBA does with NBA 2K. Because if you compare apples to apples, I think NBA and 2K do a much better job than MLB does with the MLB and the show.
Right. Well, I mean, this is the only baseball game out there, right? The only franchise that's still operating. And also, you have to take into account Sony has not been doing a good job of promoting anything lately. We don't know. They've just kind of outside that trailer for Ghost of Tsushima, they've been gone off the face of the planet. Like they're not making any announcements. They got this PlayStation 5 coming out. Like they're not doing a great job of marketing anything right now. So it is not surprising that they're not marketing MLB The Show that well. But also, like I feel like they're under the impression they don't need to because you can't play it on any other console. So they're assuming that if you like baseball games and you want to play them, you're going to have a PlayStation 4. So maybe they're making some assumptions in their marketing, but I also feel like they're not marketing this nor anything really.
And it's funny because there is an interest in MLB. In fact, if you go to our Game Source YouTube page, you'll actually see, and you look up what is the most watched video, it's MLB The Show from CES 2013. So it's kind of funny that MLB leads the way on that, but it doesn't connect the dots, so to speak, as far as popularity, because like I said, MLB The Show, it has its niche, it has its sales, but it's not to the level of, you see, and even NFL Madden. Let's go for NFL and Madden. NFL Madden, there's a big push each and every year. We talk, you and I go back and forth every year on Madden, and is it losing its popularity or anything like that? But even to the extent that it does, if it is losing its popularity, it's nowhere near what MLB The Show does as far as numbers. I mean, far and away, Madden destroys everything that the MLB The Show does, and that to me is disappointing because you look at how the popularity of Major League Baseball is. It's kind of funky. It's not exactly endearing itself to a younger audience or millennials or Generation X or whatever. But still, 2 to 3 million fans each year go to these stadiums to watch these games for each and every team. So it tells you there is a marketplace for it. It's kind of weird how that works out when it comes to MLB The Show and why they're not exactly getting more pub because of it.
Yeah, I'm also curious, like how long that Sony's going to own rights to MLB games, because I know for the first time in years, 2K is publishing an NFL game because that contract with the NFL is over.
But it's not a full simulation. It's not a full Madden-like game.
That's true. But like this is the first time we're going to be having a new NFL game outside of NFL Fever. I think was the last one that wasn't exclusive to Madden, but they owned exclusive rights for all these years. But now it's breaking. So I'm curious, like what's going to happen. When MLB's thing is over, will they look at the numbers and say, "Hey, we want to go on all consoles"? And what will Sony do in exchange to keep that property?
That's true, because the numbers for the Switch up until at this point in time were very good for the Switch. I mean, they were mirroring in many ways the same amount of sales as what the PlayStation 4 did at that time in its life cycle as well. So it looks like that if you were going to go ahead and maximize sales for MLB's The Show, the first place I'd hit, even if you don't want to put it on Xbox, is I'd still talk to Nintendo about putting it on a Nintendo Switch. But again, it leads into exclusivity issues. Sony gets a little bit proprietary about that. They get a little bit of testy about that. When it comes to what we've talked about before between the cooperation between Nintendo and Xbox, they have been more cooperative with each other. You see Ori games. The Ori games have already started going on to the Switch, and you see that type of cooperation there. I personally, like you said, until the MLB license goes to a different publisher, it will probably stay exclusive to the PlayStation. And that's kind of a shame because of the fact that MLB The Show is a solid game. We'll always remember to be a solid series, but unfortunately, like MLB The Show 20, it may go under the radar again for this season. And that's going to be a shame because people need to know, especially if they love the game of baseball, that MLB The Show is a good game. It needs to be more widely available, even on PC. Put it on PC and make it available to the PC players out there.
Yeah, Sony, you're right. Sony is way too prideful about that kind of thing. I honestly, I feel like it would sell a great deal on the Switch because they're kind of lacking in sports games. Xbox, yeah, there's a lot of sporting fans who play Xbox games. I think Sony's just gotten too cocky with that property. They just assume it's going to sell just because it does so many numbers. But look at Sony's history with Gran Turismo, right? They assume, we own this racing simulator. People are going to play this game. Doesn't matter. We can do no wrong. And then lo and behold, Gran Turismo 5 and 6 came out, and those were both pretty critically slammed. So I guess maybe it will take something like that to happen before they realize, oh, maybe we should put a little more care into this. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how to make that property more appealing, but they really need to do something.
And it also harkens on their latest middling success, I'd probably say, of Gran Turismo Sport, which is their latest offering that came out in 2017, which they're still trying to fine-tune even to this day. But it didn't get the greatest, reviews. Got okay reviews, about 7.5. So I think right now the actual Metacritic score of it is 75. So that's okay. But it isn't one of the upper echelon, top tier racing games at this point in time that people think of anymore. And that's something that Gran Turismo had for many years, especially in the early 2000s when the Gran Turismo would come out on the PlayStation and even the PlayStation 2, and people would just go nuts over it. To me, it's just kind of disappointing that MLB The Show, which is continually a good property, a good outing each and every year. And we always talk about how we don't like to see yearly editions come out because usually it's bad, i.e., like, for instance, WWE 2K, which was absolutely horrid and there was a mistake. And we talk about Madden, how Madden is like up and down. Sometimes it's really good when they have their yearly edition. Sometimes it's not so good. Consistently, MLB's The Show is good each and every year out. They make enough fine-tuning and modifications to still get those high scores, but it's a shame that this game doesn't get more recognition amongst baseball fans that it should, because it is a proprietary game to the PlayStation, and even PlayStation and Sony don't give it enough love to go ahead and give it that, and don't give it enough love enough to make it a commercially, big-time successful game. What are your thoughts out there on MLB's The Show? Not only MLB The Show 20, but the series as a whole. Have you played it and enjoyed it? Are you getting this year's edition? And what are you looking for from a Major League Baseball game? And one last thing, if you get a chance, if you're on an Xbox or a Switch, let us know if you'd like to see your version of MLB. Like to see it. Let us know if you'd like to see it. Let us know if you'd like to see a version of MLB The Show come to your platform anytime soon. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, we're halfway down, my friend, on this week's Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to go ahead and tell everybody out there, if you get a chance, check out our site on Facebook, Pop Culture Cosmos, where you'll see the latest info and news and trends in pop culture each and every day, right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page, where you also see a listing of our entire radio station syndication list right there by the day, Sunday through Saturday, right there for you on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But my friend, you've got a great thing going on with Topicocalypse, and also congratulations, you suck. Can you let us know what's going on either the latest episodes or why they should get your book? Congratulations, you suck.
Yeah, well, you'll be at home for a while, so I suggest maybe some light reading. Congratulations, You Suck would be good. Also, I'm going to be home for a while, so there'll be a lot of Topicocalypse episodes being pushed out because I got a lot of content I'm trying to catch up on. So both very exciting things. So if you're in the market for some good reading, check out my book, available now at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Powell's Books, in both physical and ebook format. And if you're looking for some good listening outside of Pop Culture Cosmos, check out Topicocalypse.
And definitely you want to check out Topicocalypse wherever you can get your podcasts, and you can get his book, Congratulations, You Suck, available now on Amazon.com and also BarnesandNoble.com as well. My friend, Westworld. You're an android, killer android. You're out. You've left the park, man. You've left the park. You no longer want to be someone's little android anymore running around the park. You've left it. You're talking about a revolution. You want to go ahead and pay back the humans and all that. What are your thoughts on Westworld as it hits season 3? I mean, it just came out this weekend. A lot of people have been looking forward to it. The reviews have been all over the place when it comes to all 3 seasons. I mean, we've had our time in sharing and patience on it. So I want to hear your thoughts as Westworld hits season 3.
I'm actually kind of eager to watch it. I've been, seeing trailers for it. I'm intrigued. It looks like it's kind of got a little Terminator vibe to it. Sorry. Hold on one second. Hold on, give me a minute. Let my dog's barking. Hold on.
That is Josh's dogs barking. We do apologize, but I want to thank you for watching right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Josh, while your dogs are barking, I want you to go ahead and do some deep thinking as any killer android would do. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about Westworld as it hits season 3. They are leaving the park. I mean, that is, I think, the next step for the Westworld. Did it come too soon? Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no, but I think it's so far a step in the right direction. The series, though, for this season is not getting the greatest in reviews, at least to start off with. So that's kind of a concern for me as I head down this week and I give it a chance and I give it a whirl back again. I know my season one, I thought was when I watched it was all over the place. It was very good and also not so good, especially that ending with Anthony Hopkins getting killed and the entire area getting killed. And I just didn't think it really made that much sense. And then season two, they were kind of drifting away as far as a revolution is concerned and all that. Your thoughts again, Josh, on Westworld as it hits season three? Is this something you're really interested in seeing going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, I am eager to watch it. I'm excited about it. The season one, I did really enjoy. Like it really pulled me into the series. That the Anthony Hopkins death, it did make sense. You know, it made sense to me. I mean, maybe it wasn't the best way to go about it, but like it's that whole argument, like what is consciousness? And a lot of people think that in order to experience true consciousness, like you have to experience great tragedy. So that was the whole point of her shooting him, is so that she could truly be human and experience human emotions. It was season two that kind of took a turn that I didn't enjoy. A lot of things in season two made no sense. Really, nothing in season two made sense. It was just kind of them rehashing things. There were some parts that were cool, but a lot of it I did not enjoy. But season three, seeing this trailer, I am kind of amped to watch it, and I hope that it answers a lot of questions that are left open in season three. But I still hope that it is called Westworld, so is there going to be like a Western element to it? It almost feels like it has shifted genres.
It does feel like it's shifted genres, and it feels like a little bit more sci-fi-ish than ever before, especially as it heads out into the city with more of a futuristic feel because it's based in the future and all that. I think it does seem to be a little bit more interesting, so I am intrigued a little bit more than I was in the past. Season two, like I said, really just didn't do it for me. I think the end of season one tailed off for my interest and then went into season two. I think it was just a momentum thing for me, but I am going to go ahead, and give it another shot when it comes to season three. But let me ask you this: where in your mind does Westworld have to go to as far as what prospects do you think they need to cover in order to keep you entranced as a viewer and as someone that's interested as part of a member of the audience, so that you can just not only finish season three but be interested in possibly season four, which I'm pretty sure would go ahead and be greenlighted by HBO.
Well, I mean, it would have to have the elements that make it Westworld, right? It would have to have the Western elements, and it would have to have, the whole what makes the show so good, right? The philosophy and like the theology of life. What is life? Who is God? What can anybody be a God? Like those whole questions, that's what makes the show so intriguing. But if they're going to turn it into another Terminator, or it's going to be another like a trying to make it into a Blade Runner, I don't know how interested I am in that, just because I liked the show for what it started out as. Now, if it started out in the genre that it is now, then maybe I would have been more eager to see such a big change. So right now I'm excited to watch it, but at the same time, I have very, very high expectations going into it. And if they don't meet those, I probably will give up on Westworld. And that's a real shame to me.
That would be a real shame. And it has to have that kind of expectations because now that Game of Thrones is gone, it is the number one show, is it not? I mean, when you think of HBO now, you have to think of Westworld as the lead-in show, as the show that's going to get you hooked on the overall HBO project. Is that not correct?
Right, and especially since all these other shows that are in production currently, is the ones for HBO, Disney Plus, whatever it is, they are halted right now. So there's no guarantee that anything's going to get filmed anytime soon. So this show has to succeed. It has to do well because there's not really going to be anything coming out until this whole virus thing is blown over. So it's kind of a do or die moment for this franchise.
It is almost kind of like a do or die time for this franchise because again, you have a lot of people now that since the end of Game of Thrones are looking for something to really get into. And if Westworld doesn't do it for them, I mean, I could tell you all day long that McMillions should do it for you. But then again, that was just 6 episodes, truly outstanding docuseries. But after that, you're supposed to get into something good with HBO. And yes, True Detective has been a pretty good series too. And there are other series that are going to be great. But if you get HBO Max, you get that anyways. And there's Disney Plus, Netflix, and there's so many other different options that are out there. You're going to need to make some cuts at some point in time, even when you're watching more things now, like people are right now when they're self-isolating and at more at home and all that. But people right now are going to have to make financial choices, and if Westworld doesn't do it for them, HBO is going to be HBO is going to be cut from a lot of viewerships that are out there by a substantial margin in the not too distant future. I see that happening personally. I think Westworld is kind of a love it or leave it type series. And by the end of season 3, if not as many people are loving it, a lot of people are going to be leaving HBO very soon.
Right, because this is we talk about this a lot, right? The fact that of all the streaming services, HBO is kind of the most expendable, right? It's the one that people are going to spend the least amount of time in. So that's why it's vital that you have something that's good. You give people good faith, and maybe they'll think about sticking around for whatever comes next.
So, what are everyone's thoughts out there on HBO and Westworld as a hit? Season 3 just came out. A lot of people are interested in it. Is it the killer? Well, you know what they say in video games. Is it the killer app that brings people back to HBO time and time again? Has it become that must-see show that you're going to go ahead and not miss or catch on the L3 or L7, the delayed viewing, as I'm talking about? Is it that must-see show that keeps you in tune with HBO and wants you to continue, and gets you to continue your HBO membership? We'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because the reviews on it and the views of Westworld are all over the place. It's not the same kind of love that there is for Game of Thrones, or that there was for Game of Thrones. So I want to hear your thoughts. Is Westworld in its season 3? Is it progressing the way you want to, as the androids are starting to leave the park and starting to get revenge on their humans, that are out there? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, it's been a great time so far. Only got about 20 minutes left, so I cannot thank you enough for being part of it. But when we talk about self-isolation, when we talk about staying at home and doing a lot of things that we forgot about or we just haven't had time for in our busy lives, one of the things we talked, that we're talking about for this show is some movies that we haven't checked out in a long, long time, that we love, that we appreciate, that we've probably even talked about on the show on occasion, but yet we've not gotten to see it in quite some time. So I asked you to take a look at movies you have not seen in over 10 years, let's say, the last decade. You haven't seen them in quite some time. So I want to hear your list. You can be 5 or you can be more. Your list of the movies that you need to dust off the shelves. You get it off the bookcase, and it's all dusty. So you want to just take that dust off before you put it in your DVD or your Blu-ray player. 5, the movies that you want to see after so long of a time.
Sorry, I'm just waiting for the dog to stop. Okay, so I have a list here. So number 1, I got Aliens. That's one I haven't watched in a while. Sorry, hold on, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll start off with mine. Well, go ahead. Are you ready?
Yeah, so I got Aliens. That's one I've been meaning to go back to. I really love to. I know it's about 2.5 hours. So whenever I watch it, I have to have time to sit down and watch it in one sitting.
Well, that's not as bad as in the old days. I mean, back previously, 2.5 hours was meant for a really big film. 2.5 hours these days for a lot of films is just like,
Yeah,
par for the
same
course.
time. Yeah, true. It's one that like I don't want to like today when I not today but like now when I watch movies I usually fall asleep during them, so I have to watch them in like time periods. I got to watch an hour here, an hour there, whatever time I can carve out to watch them. But with Aliens, this is a movie that I would want to watch all the way through, and that is it's a fun movie. Reminds me of my childhood. Love love Bill Paxton and seeing the
Aliens reminds you of. I'm not even sure why I want.
well, because I saw it when I was a kid, so I mean that's that.
Okay, I just thought that you were been transported to another planet with Bill Paxton.
Oh no, sorry,
okay,
yeah,
aliens coming at you and all that. I'm like, that's
no,
one bad childhood.
with not like Newt in the movie,
Something like that. Something like that. Sigourney Weaver fighting alongside with you, man.
right?
All right, I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Gotta get a clarification on that.
Yeah, no, I saw it when I was a kid, so that's why it takes me back. Next on my list, I got Saving Private Ryan. That's one I keep meaning to go back to. I was thinking about that the other day and how
I've told you that before. That it's what the best. Okay, let's forget about when an aged Matt Damon character, the old guy looks into, as soon as it goes onto the beach, that's probably the best 15-minute opening I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, I mean, I would go as far as to say like it is the greatest, one of the greatest war movies, if not the greatest war movie ever made. So I'm a pretty big fan, and I always, whenever I think about that movie, I always think about the part where the guy's got the knife over him. They keep thinking they're not gonna let it happen. They're not gonna let it happen. They're not gonna let it happen. And it's such an intense scene, but like that whole movie is just really, really good, really well done. It's well researched, and it's heartbreaking, man. It is absolutely heartbreaking. Okay, so my number 3 movie on here it's not really old, it's more new, but it's just something I haven't watched in a while. I keep wanting to. I know I've talked about Spring on this show before, where the guy goes out to Italy, and hopefully that's not in bad taste right now, but he goes to Italy, meets this girl ends up being a monster, and then it's kind of like a weird dark love indie film, and it's such a beautiful movie. So check it out.
Hold on. Does that remind you of your childhood too?
No. But if you have Amazon Prime, check it out. It's good. Other one I want to number 2 on my list. I got The Last of the Mohicans. I bought that on DVD a couple weeks ago, and I just haven't had time to watch it. So that's something I've really been wanting to see.
I will find you. I will find you.
No, I'm telling you, man. The second that movie starts, you see Daniel Day-Lewis running, you hear that soundtrack going, you're like, oh man, this is like Jurassic Park for me. It's like the moment you hear that John Williams score, you're in it. You're gone. You're just every moment of that movie. You just want to eat it all up.
I will find you. I will find you.
Oh, so good, man. And like yeah, great movie. Last on my list, I got Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's one I try to watch every like 5 years, and I am overdue for it. So I would really like to watch it. Again, this was probably one of the last movies I rented and watched with my parents, and they really enjoyed it. But it's a great film, very good quality. But what are your 5? Tell me about them.
Well, that doesn't remind you of your childhood either, right? That you could do all those funky stuff.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. That's a great list. There's The Last of the Mohicans is something I haven't seen in decades. So yes, I agree with you on that. Also, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, one of the greatest martial arts films of all time, because it's a martial arts film, but it isn't a martial arts film. It's a great story and narrative driving film, and something that the things that they did in that movie had not been seen by a lot of those, like a wide audience had not seen any type of artistry when it comes to martial arts ever before. And it's just truly an outstanding benchmark for a film for the way we go ahead and perceive the martial arts genre. So I agree with you on Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I might have to put that on my list as well. But for my movies that I'm going to go ahead and dust off the plate, so to speak, I think for me, for honorary mention, I want to go ahead and honorary mention and put that on there is The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. And I think that's such an outstanding movie. Even if you don't care for professional wrestling, this movie will make you care about Mickey Rourke's character, because this is by far and away, his best ever performance. I mean, there's nothing that he's done before, even in those cheesy 80 movies he did, or the 90s, or anything of that nature, before or after. And especially Iron Man 2. I'm talking about you. I'm talking to you, Iron Man 2. Even after that, are not anywhere close to this performance. I mean, he got such recognition for it at the time. It revitalized his career. I mean, you know what? His nice paycheck that he got for Iron Man 2 is directly because of his performance in The Wrestler. It's just truly an outstanding, he was awesome from beginning to end. And if you want to see a really good movie, go check out The Wrestler, because it's something that's, since that initial hype for it and the fact it got an Academy Award nomination, and it was right there amongst the favorites and all that, it kind of got, pushed by the wayside. But if you ever want to see a good movie on a, not a large scope, just a small scope type film, The Wrestler, I think, is really good. Marissa Tomei is outstanding in it. Cannot say enough good things about The Wrestler. But number 5 is a really good sci-fi film. In fact, one of my favorite and possibly the best of Steven Spielberg's movies. I know that's going to be up for great debate on which ones are the best, which ones are not. Minority Report. And possibly even one of Tom Cruise's best as well. So it's just something that I think a lot of people should check out if they want to see something that still has a fresh look to it, still has something that can work well in today's society, that does not look that dated. I think it's still something that can stick. If it was released today, would still fare very well. And I think the narrative that it creates, it is an adapted screenplay. It is based off of a book, and it's just something that is very good. In fact, we were talking the other day about, what I wanted to go ahead and do in regards to the late Max von Sydow, and our respects to the late Max von Sydow, who was just a truly excellent character actor, who passed away last week at the age of 90. And I know there's a lot of news about coronavirus, and that got swept under the rug as well. But I wanted to go ahead and pay respects to Max von Sydow. This is not his best performance or his greatest performance, but it was still very good. And I think the actual, I think Tom Cruise was good. I think it was a great cast of characters, but mainly the story was driving it through, and the sci-fi element that was there in it. To me, it was just a lot of fun to watch, and it's one of my films that I just cannot believe I haven't watched in quite some time. So I am going to be dusting it off and catching it real soon. And before we go ahead with my rest of my list, to pay tribute to Max von Sydow, can you tell me what, if you have any memories, what is your favorite film that he was in? Off the top of your head. Because I know The Exorcist was talked about. I know the Star Wars: The Force Awakens, in that first scene he was in. For me, Strange Brew was probably one of my favorite movies. If you ever check out Strange Brew, that's a very fun movie to watch with Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas and Max von Sydow as the bad guy in it. I know he played a lot of bad guys, but still a great actor nonetheless. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, so I got one out of left field. I really enjoyed him in Robin Hood with Russell Crowe. I thought that him playing the senile father, he hit all kinds of ranges in that. Like, he was senile father, so he was funny, he was serious when he needed to be, and he brought a side to that role that really kind of made him a character you cared about.
Very surprising choice. Good choice. There you go. That's again our tribute to Max von Sydow, who again passed away last week at the age of 90. If you didn't hear, one of the best character actors that has ever been in Hollywood. got a variety of roles. Yes, he played a lot of bad guys, but he did play good guys. He played important figures, and he was someone who, with his voice, with his distinct accent, you always knew what you always knew he was in the movie, and just really just was a great addition to any movie you put him in. But yes, Strange Brew is one of my favorites with him in it. But yes, moving on to our to continue our list, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, with Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef, and just that's and Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach. Just a great movie. And I'll tell you what, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is something. If you want to go back into the older spaghetti westerns, to me, this is probably ahead of Fistful of Dollars. I think it's probably the best spaghetti western that's out there, that's ever been made. And if you want to go ahead and see what older westerns were like, I would probably go ahead and one that people can still relate to today, that's good enough to be seen and appreciated, that you're not going to be rolling your eyes over. I would probably say The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, especially Eli Wallach's performance as Tuco was just something to behold. And I think that's a really good movie. And that's something I need to check out as well. I need to dust off and go ahead and check that out. Coming up next at number 3 is The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson. Before he went crazy, before he went out there, before he lost his mind and, did everything that he did, The Road Warrior, and Mad Max to even a bigger extent than that is something you should go out of your way and see. I know we talked recently about Mad Max Fury Road being something that is definitely a great movie that you need to see. Well, it all stems from The Road Warrior and Mad Max. And if you want to see how that world, the apocalyptic world, and how it was built, I would suggest The Road Warrior and Mad Max on top of it, as well as the two movies. Not Thunderdome, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I think you can skip that. If you really don't, if you really have a lot of time on your hands, and there's a good chance you guess you can watch that just to complete the list. But The Road Warrior and Mad Max are two great films you need to go ahead and check out. And number 2 is Michael Mann's Heat from the 90s with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. It was a heavy-duty cast, and it was one of those rare times where you got Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in a film together. Now they do it all the time, seemingly. Anyways, I mean, now that they're old, but when they were back in their primes, this was something that was a special treat. And yes, the acting between the two may be okay at best. It was not their greatest performances. It's the action sequences, the music, the way that the narrative builds, and Michael Mann's, just the way he shot it from a movie standpoint, from a camera standpoint, is just truly beautiful to watch. And some really solid performances underneath the Al Pacino, Robert De Niro dynamic really make it for a strong performance overall, especially Val Kilmer as well. Val Kilmer, this is probably one of his best performances ever, and especially when he didn't don the bat suit. But I really think that he is a very, very strong movie, especially if you want to go ahead and check out a heist movie of some type. This is probably one of the best that's ever been made, and on my list as well for my top films ever. In fact, I'll tell you where to go ahead. You can check out my list here in a sec. But Josh, let me ask you, have you ever had a chance to check out Michael Mann's work, especially Heat?
I saw Heat a long time ago, but I don't remember any of it.
Then you're going to have to go ahead and dust it off or get it on the digital download, my friend, because it's something you definitely need to check out one more time. Especially that music, man. That music, if you've got a surround sound system while you're watching it, I highly recommend that you do, because the music and the soundtrack to that is just sensational. In fact, when it comes to Michael Mann movies, a lot of the time that's the case, because he incorporates sound. I mean, that goes all the way back to the Miami Vice series, where he was incorporating the 80s songs of the time and whatnot, the 70s songs and the 80s songs at that point in time into his show to create that type of rhythm and type of beat to his shows. And he was able to incorporate that type of love for music in Heat. And yeah, I definitely think it's something people need to check on out. Well, last on my list, my friend, is something that won the Academy Award way back when. I think it was the year 2000. entirely sure, maybe 2001. But Gladiator. Have you checked out Gladiator before, my friend, with Russell Crowe? Because you mentioned Russell Crowe with Robin Hood. I think this is a better performance by him, and this is something that, yes, we first saw Joaquin Phoenix like stealing the show. This was the first time that people thought, hey, this is not just Rivers, the late River Phoenix's brother. Joaquin Phoenix can really go ahead and knock it out of the park, and this was the first time we really got to see it in Gladiator.
Yeah, I love Gladiator. This was the first time that watching this film is the first time I truly, truly hated a villain. You know, like I was emotionally hated a villain. Like that was the first time that had ever happened. So he was outstanding, and that movie is outstanding. Ridley Scott did an amazing job. Yeah, it's it's gory and it's got a lot of action in it, but hold on a second. Yeah, but it's got so much like heart in it, and it's such an emotional film. I'm so glad it won all those awards. I don't want to see a sequel to it. They need to leave it alone. I know they keep talking.
Everyone's talked for a while. In fact, I think we did a segment on it way back when about Gladiator.
Yeah, I hope we never hear about it again. But it's a great movie, and I love to go back and watch those historical epics. Every couple years I'll watch like Gladiator, and I'll do Kingdom of Heaven, or I'll watch Robin Hood and things like that. So like I really enjoy those films.
You know what? I'll tell you what, on the Friday show, my friend, because you and I both mentioned Ridley Scott films, we're going to go at it on the Friday show. We're going to talk about the best of Ridley Scott. Okay. We're going to talk about the best of Ridley Scott in detail on our Friday episodes. It's a little side segment to what we're talking about, along with the latest news and information and all that. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the best of Ridley Scott coming up here on the Friday episode. I know Gladiator will probably be a little bit of a repeat, so be prepared to hear a little bit more about Gladiator. But there's still a lot of great stuff on tap that Ridley Scott has done in over the course of his career that deserves a lot of attention. And we'll go ahead and touch on the greatness of Ridley Scott on Friday's episode. How does that sound?
Sounds good. I'll get my list together.
There you go. And I'll get mine together too when it comes to Ridley Scott. But again, my movies that I need to dust off, that I think people should give a chance out there: Gladiator, Heat, The Road Warrior, and Mad Max, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Minority Report, with a special honorable mention to The Wrestler. And one last time for your list.
So I got Aliens, Saving Private Ryan, Spring, The Last of the Mohicans, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, that's awesome. And if people want to check out the list of my all-time favorites, my top 25, as it were, although I think I probably need to tweak it a little bit more at some point in time in the near future, I have a list that you just go ahead and have to just Google or Bing anytime you can, anytime you want to. Just go ahead and type in the words, what's your top 25 films? Here's mine. And that's available now at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out with me for the entire hour on this week's episode. We've got Friday coming up, like we talked about, with Ridley Scott, and a whole bunch of more news and information, and hopefully a lot more good stuff coming on the way with the PCC Multiverse. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I mean, I think we're good. I'm excited to talk Ridley Scott films. Check out our website. We're going to have, we update that now a lot. So give it a cruise on over there. Check it out. WordPress.com or popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in as always. I do appreciate it. Again, everybody out there, we truly hope you stay safe, stay healthy. And from all of us at the Pop Culture Cosmos, we wish you continued health and happiness. And, we all got to come around, and we all got to, work together as a species. Just go ahead for the next weeks and months. We'll get through this. Just keep the faith and listen to, keep yourself busy by listening to great shows like ours and so many other out there. Support independent podcasters. I know everybody has their favorites, but if you get a chance, support independent podcasters like us and so many others that are out there, and continued health and happiness to everyone as we go forward through this pandemic. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. And thanks for watching.